Welcome back to the Religious Treehouse. I'm Jodie.
I'm Matthew.
How are you doing today, Matthew?
I had to have a conversation with my landlord today, so I'm doing awful.
Oh no.
You know how landlords are. You know my thoughts on landlords. We don't need to get into my thoughts on landlords today,
No, you don't.
so we won't. So I've been better. I've been better, but we're still in the midst of baseball season. So like there's like a little bit of higherness there because we're like, okay, it's fine. We're okay. Um, but but we're pushing through. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I rode a motorcycle this last weekend
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
no, I did well.
Oh,
I
this is
liked it.
good.
It had training
Yes.
wheels on it, so I didn't
Oh,
have to
okay.
keep
You
it balanced. So
a
half of the
motor a motor trike?
motor trike.
Cool.
And I did hurt my knee
Ooh,
getting off of the motorcycle, so I do need to work on
valid.
that.
Sure.
Other than that, my Super Bowl was last night, the Met Gala.
Uh,
And I am just so excited to get your thoughts. First of all,
yeah.
let me talk about my favorite looks. Number one, Sabrina Carpenter. She
Okay.
wore film depicting the movie Sabrina, starring Audrey Hepburn, on Audrey Hepburn's birthday. So
Okay.
that was cool. And the silhouette of her gown was in like a callback to the movie, to one of the silhouettes there. She
Okay.
also then later performed with Stevie Nicks and then wore a dress with the Marilyn Monroe Andy Warhol print on
Audrey
it.
Hepburn did this?
No, Sabrina Carpenter. Audrey's
Oh,
dead.
yeah, that's what I thought. I was
Audrey's gone.
confused.
My second favorite was Eileen Gu, Olympic snowboarder and world champion. Her
Oh,
dress had bubbles, it looked like it was made of bubbles, and then there was hardware that blew bubbles out.
sure.
And then Beyonce, because so the theme was fashion is art, but the
Uh-huh.
exhibit that they were showcasing is costume art, but also just bodies as art. They developed nine new mannequins based off of other like different body types in order
Mm.
to display pieces for this
Okay.
upcoming gallery. So
Yeah.
that was really cool. But anyways, Beyonce did this kind of exoskeleton dress that I
Mm.
thought really embodied the theme of that. And then I'll get to my fourth one after I hear your thoughts.
Yes, you did have me do research
Yes, I
so
did.
I could come to a conclusion. And do you remember who it was that I said? Morgan Spector, according to my most recent Google search.
Yeah.
Morgan
Why?
Spector. It looked like the most plain piece of clothing that I could find, like the most like, hey, that looks like something that like if an average person wanted to wear it, they could wear it, or at least that looks something like it. Because the Met fundamentally is a place for rich people to show off their wealth. And there's nothing more upsetting to me than the wealth disparity that's being flaunted at the Met Gala. And I think it's so annoying and it's so frustrating. And the fact that, hey, we have some guy that is wearing something that looks vaguely, normal, vaguely regular. I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's worth like $13 million or something crazy like that. I'm sure it's
Tom
overly
Ford.
priced to like be like, oh my goodness, I'm so rich. But it looks the most normal to my untrained eye. And so that's why I chose him as my favorite.
And I sent this to you because I was like, Matthew loves art. He's going to love these pieces that these people have put together
No,
based upon
no.
art
I
pieces.
love art, but I hate the commodification of art. That ruins art. It is no longer art at this point.
A charity gala.
Yeah,
It's to
find
raise money for the
find a way
museum.
find a way to do it without rich people being like, "Oh, I'm rich. Look at how rich I am." Ha 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 ha. I
There are
hate it.
so much more
The,
impactful ways to use your fashion on the Met Gala carpet to give a middle finger to it. AOC did it. Plenty of people have worn, not plenty, but there's been a couple tax the rich pieces.
mm,
But yes,
kind of ironic though, isn't it? Given the whole circumstance of
but it's for the gallery's important. I'm this the piece of work they're trying to showcase and raise money and bring attention to
mm,
is the love of bodies.
mm,
And I know it is ridiculous because this year the Bezos were on the chairs and they were part of the fundraising. So I'm not totally happy.
sure.
Also, Jeff Bezos's wife did Madam X, but so did like three other people.
Oh,
And yes, I get that. I understand that. but it shouldn't detract from the fact that this, like, they showcased
Mhm.
different bodies. Like there was a wheelchair mannequin. That was one.
Mhm.
There was dwarfism was
Mhm.
highlighted. Just different bodies, celebrating different bodies. And I think that's beautiful. And the only way some people will pay attention to this is if we tout out the pretty people and pretty clothing,
It celebrated the commodification of different bodies.
not the commodification.
Hmm.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep.
Fashion is art. Fashion is not just commodity.
Right. Fashion
Fashion is
is
art.
art, but then by us putting these expensive aspects of it and focusing on like, oh, these are the brands. It's not the art that is being highlighted, it's the brands that are being highlighted through the art. And that is what detracts any value
No,
of it
it's
from
not
me.
about the brand. No, not the showcase. What they're showing, the art that they're showing is about the way the clothes fit upon people, the way fashion affects the way the body looks, how a person's shape can be
Mhm.
enhanced or minimized using clothing and silhouettes.
Yeah, but it does this by using rich bodies, and that is the problem.
But you're still talking about the carpet. I'm talking about what's inside.
Yeah, that's what you told me to do research on.
I told you to do research on the whole thing. It's not just the carpet, it's what's inside.
But I don't think you can completely separate them.
You can.
I
You,
can't. I
you
can't.
can. You have to. You have to. Also, I had a really big thought. Um, Museums, because I'm just against museums in a lot of ways, because,
Mm,
stealing artifacts.
okay, we differ here, but yeah.
Well, no, I just think everyone should return everything to whence it came, and then
Sure.
a cultural exchange program should take place. And if
Okay.
America doesn't have a lot to offer, then we put up the Liberty Bell.
America has so much to offer.
Not as much history, not nearly as much, which brings us to
We have
today's
so
movie.
much indigenous history in the Americas. So
Well,
much.
yes, that's what, but they wouldn't be sending that. When I was thinking of this, I was not thinking of the indigenous history. Yes, sorry. So I will, now I'm going to have to edit this out because I'm going to look like a dick. No, not indigenous art. I am speaking of American.
Right. I mean, you have Georgia O'Keeffe and Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo is not American. My bad on that.
I'm
Sorry,
sorry,
Frida.
but
But
I
like,
just don't think some countries are going to accept the Declaration of Independence for a like thousands-year-old archway. You know,
what good's the Declaration of Independence anymore, anyways?
Nicolas Cage.
Anyways, we can cut off this whole thing. Who knows? We should get to the point of this episode.
Welcome back to the Religious Treehouse.
Oh,
Today we're talking about the Testament of Anne Lee.
yes, the movie. It's a movie episode.
It is a movie episode and it's a musical.
Technically, I suppose. Yeah.
It's a musical and it's a musical with one of my favorite musical actresses, Amanda, and I'm going to say her last name wrong, Seyfried. Seyfried. She said it plenty of times. I should know. Have you ever seen her in Les Mis?
I've seen Les Mis, so I must have seen her in it.
Have you seen Mamma Mia?
I have not seen Mamma Mia.
What do you mean you haven't seen Mamma Mia?
I've listened to ABBA, which is like halfway there, maybe. No,
And you were like, yes, Jodie, the Testament of Anne Lee, without doing your research on
we're talking about
her
shakers.
rich.
Shakers are fun. I love a good
Shakers are fun.
shaker.
Shakers, I don't know. I just thought they were like Quakers by a different name.
Yeah, they're Quakers with a fun little bonus.
Is it
They're
a fun little bonus? Is
they're
the
Quakers
Lucy a fun
Plus.
little bonus?
I would argue a fun big bonus. You're right.
Oh, really? Yeah, let's talk about the Testament of Anne Lee. Born February 19th. We're starting off strong.
What?
I'm not sorry. Born
What?
February 29th. We're starting off strong.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Sure. Like let's
She
talk about
is
let's okay, let's talk. Let's go. Let's do it. You start. You start,
no,
Jody.
no, go for it. Go for it. Before
No,
we
I
talk about the woman the movie is titled after.
would you like to give us a brief summary?
Okay, yeah. So there's this girl, Anne Lee, and she unfortunately has seen her parents fornicate. So she comes to some crazy conclusions at a young age. She doesn't find that people worship the way she worships. So she goes and seeks people who do. And she does. She finds them. She finds them and they emote and feel things and verbalize. And it's just a very physical act in which they worship and feel connected to God. And so she meets a man. She fails to have 4 kids. And then she is like, hey, I feel like maybe she has visions and things. And then she's like, we should go to America. And so they do. And then they go to America and they find a place to live and build. She loses her husband because she has decided celibacy is the way for all of them to go.
Hmm.
And then the revolution happens and she gets called a witch and she is tortured and she's imprisoned a couple times along the way.
Hmm.
And then some people die and then she dies. And now we're here.
Now we're here. Yeah, this is set in the 1700s, I think is an important detail.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I think before we get into like the details of the movie, which I really have like zero comments on, like regarding any specific details. I'm sure you have plenty of comments.
So many comments.
Um, I think this did a really good job at looking at Shakers without reducing them to some fanatical cult or like making fun of them in a way. I think this was a really faithful and kind and generous look at Shakers as a movement and looking at Anne Lee as a woman and how she would react in that circumstance. So I really like that. Now I don't think this is should be considered a documentary by any means. There's so many fun creative liberties that took place, but I do truly appreciate how this movie portrayed both feminism to some extents and alternative religious movements in some sense of the word,
Mm-hmm.
as a generally like positive and decent thing instead of making fun of it as
Yeah.
we so often see. My big critique though is I got a lot of Midsummer vibes throughout this. Like throughout this whole movie, I was like, this reminds me of Midsummer. And check out episode 77. No, 57. If you want my thoughts on Midsummer. And they were not good because I was so scared during Midsummer. And I was so worried that at any point she was just gonna like start killing people randomly and there'd be a Midsummer moment. But there wasn't, and that made me happy.
Oh yeah, they would start that singing and chanting, and I'd be like, and now someone's gonna die.
Yeah. But then they
But no,
didn't. Well,
people did die.
people
People
did
did
die.
die. And one of the men that died, the guy who played her brother William, will
Mhm.
be in Mamma Mia 3. But you don't understand how iconic that is.
Mm.
Yes. Any other things about the movie as a whole?
Um, Movie as a whole, I think Amanda Seyfried did a really good job. I would have loved Florence Welch to play the part of Anne Lee. I think that would have been great. I think it would have been amazing. I think she should have at least have had a cameo somewhere in the movie.
Has she ever acted?
I don't think so, but I don't care. I think this movie was made for her.
You need to care. I think she should have had a song on the soundtrack.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that, but this this was a hard role. Like I
Hmm.
was watching her, and the way she just so beautifully encapsulates a woman in her 20s all the way to in her, what was she, in her 50s
I think
when she
40s,
passed?
yeah.
40s. She just has such range. Number one,
Hmm.
age-wise. Number two, vocally. She's just so gifted and talented. And that's all I could think about the entire movie, watching all of these people. I'm like, the cooperative effort to pull off some of these scenes with the continuous filming, like the camera just circling around and
Hmm.
the choreographed movement and dance. I just appreciated that so much. I know you were looking at the religion of it. I was looking at the technical aspects of how does one pull off this movie? And it was so good. It's so, I don't know about if it was accurate to the time. It felt accurate. I felt like I was watching people in colonial era.
Hmm.
I felt like I was there. And Anne Lee, as a character. I had to double check. I was like, is Anne Lee real? Anne Lee was real.
Anne Lee is real, yeah.
Anne Lee is real. Anne Lee was real. Anne Lee was born February 29th. And that's amazing because that's a weird date. And I was
Mm,
like, wow, they should have known that woman was going to do odd things. And she did.
mm. I have a friend
She
who's born February 29th.
no, I have a decent knowledge of Quakers.
Mm.
Um, Shakers, I was not as familiar with.
Well, there aren't many
So,
Shakers around anymore, so
well, because they're not procreating.
yeah. Like
That would be why.
the big thing that Anne Lee was pushing, which I think they took some creative liberties to try to explain to the audience, hey, why don't we believe in sex? And they kind of explained that by like pushing her seeing her parents having sex and then also like her four kids dying. And I think they kind of use that as the explanation for why she was so against it, which I think is fair enough in like a narrative sense to like move the movie along.
Oh yeah,
But um, I think there's plenty of other reasons that could be argued based
yeah.
on that time frame when this was happening and all those other things. But yeah, that is a very large reason why there are not many any. I think there's like two or three, not like groups, but like two or three Shakers left around.
I mean, we should look into that. Are there any Shakers? Where did the Shakers go?
I think Maine. I think the last I heard, there's
That
like
makes
two
sense.
or three Shakers in Maine.
Yeah, I could see that. They
Yeah,
can't have sex. The only other pleasure in life is a lobster roll. So,
yeah.
genuinely, it's it was a weird kind of religion to grapple with. Okay, because here's the way they embody, the way they
Mhm.
depicted the embodiment, the movement, and the
Yeah.
release of things. I very much enjoyed. I really enjoyed their cooperative effort in
Mhm.
building their town.
Yeah.
And I
And
really liked the way they depicted Anne Lee's feelings on if people weren't a right fit. It
mhm.
wasn't that they were heretics or they were any such other thing. It wasn't the right fit for them.
Yeah.
So they can go with God, be gone. You don't need to be here. Um, oh, also they were against slavery. Love that.
Mhm.
Gotta love that. Let women
Yeah.
speak. These are good things.
Yeah. No, and especially for the time to be so egalitarian in their theology to like support a woman leader, very rare, especially for that time, which I think is why this movie was chosen, or why Anne Lee was chosen. But yeah, I think we want to look at that for a second, the
Yep.
egalitarianism of it, because they have
Mhm.
a fun claim that God, if we were to take Genesis seriously, God
Mhm.
made man and woman in God's image. That
Mhm.
means God has a male side and a feminine side.
Mhm.
And so the argument there is that Jesus portrays the male side of God, and then we must have a feminine side of God in human
Yes.
form, and that is present in Anne Lee to
Mhm.
greater or lesser extents in Shaker theology.
Did it also feel to you like they were pushing an Anne Lee is Jesus thing?
Well, they were to an extent,
Okay.
like that is the point.
That was what I was supposed to get from that.
Yeah,
Okay.
like they're the theology, the Shaker theology is, and I'm no expert on Shakers, but if there is a masculine and feminine side of God, and that
Mhm.
is manifested masculinely through Jesus, and then
Mhm.
femininely through Anne Lee.
Mhm.
And so it is an apocalyptic view of the world in some sense, not
Mhm.
in the sense of what we saw some of those preachers talking about in the movie, where like
Yeah.
the world is ending, panic, we're all going to hell, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But in the sense that, hey, the second coming of Christ has come through Anne Lee in the feminine form of Christ,
Mhm.
and therefore the end is fairly imminent, and therefore now we shouldn't have children because what's the point? Like we
Yeah.
shouldn't be having sex because there's no point. The end is fairly imminent.
That's so sad. So dire. That
Mm.
wasn't what I understood.
Mm.
But I don't think I was really looking at it. I think I was mostly just paying attention to the choreography.
Yeah,
Because you
which
can really reduce this movie down to some like weird terms.
Yeah, and I think the choreography so well done. We can talk about that in a second.
Okay.
But I think the sensual aspects of much of the choreography, because a lot of it was fairly sensual
Oh yeah.
in some ways, I think was who's the director? I forgot her name. Um, Mona Fastvold. I think
Mm,
that was her kind of manifesting that sexual desire that gets kind of subdued in the Shaker theology and has to come out somewhere. And so she imagines that, and probably to some extent it did, probably not to the extent that it's portrayed here, but to some extent, shaking and moving and dancing is a way to release that pent up energy.
I tried to imagine myself. I'm like, okay, you're transported in time. You're going to a Shakers meeting. You're sitting in a chair. How do you feel? I would be intimidated.
Mhm.
Those people seemed very devout and very passionate. It just
Yeah.
it came off a little intimidating, but it also came off so welcoming.
Yeah, and I think they did a good job of portraying our 1700s view of reality and being very prim and proper and being all tidied up and stuff like that, in which we are inserting into a foreign world of sorts because it is this 300 years ago idea of reality that we can't fully comprehend, and so we're trying to recreate that in a way that makes sense to us as
Yeah.
well. But yeah, choreography, thoughts on
Choreography.
choreography.
I mean, I don't have much to say about the choreography other than it was amazing.
It was great. The circles, I think the there's one image I have of Shakers, um
Mm,
that I have in my head, and it's like three or four rows of women and three or four rows of men kind of facing each other, like getting ready to dance. And the way
mm,
that they had that in the movie, I thought was very well done. Very much appreciated that. The closing scene where they're dancing in the circle, I thought
mm,
was so well done.
mm,
And like the long extended scenes of just like a single shot dancing scene was so
mm,
good. And I very
mm.
much appreciated all that. It was
Yes,
so fun to watch.
yes. It really, I feel like you could get really drawn into the movie, and then they
Mhm.
kept you there.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't take my eyes off of it. I couldn't even play my games. I usually play games on my phone when I watch movies.
Jody, you can't do that.
Why not? It kept me in. It kept
Oh
me
my
drawn
goodness.
in. Okay. It's a compliment. Don't come at me for my movie watching habits. I have ADHD.
Ugh, you
Okay.
gotta lock in, Jody.
I can't lock in. I'm not medicated for that. But yeah, it was a good movie. I loved how close they were with the Native Americans. I don't know. It gave them it was a very nice depiction. I mean, they could have gone a very weird way with it. They could have turned
Yeah.
it sex culty. Like,
They could have turned it sex culty. They could have turned it like outsider, like, hey, look at these weird people doing their weird thing. But I think it was a very sympathetic view of the religion.
mm,
And I don't think that was necessarily intentional. I think the intention was to look at Anne Lee
yeah,
and to have a sympathetic look towards her. And that manifested itself in the broader scene as well. But to focus on Anne Lee as the central figure and and kind of create their own story of how an outsider fits into a group where they're the minority,
mm,
or how the minority group fits into like the broader society. I
yeah,
think that was very well done.
yeah,
But also looking at her specific struggles, and then kind of using some interpretive lenses to be like, hey, how can we make this make sense to us? But to understand Anne Lee as a mother, I think was very interesting and very well done, and not something that I see often in movies, because
yeah.
we repeatedly see her have the four either miscarriages or young child deaths, but then for her to then come to be called mother by the entirety of her group, and how she takes on role of mother despite four of her children dying, I think was very beautiful. And I think overall the central theme of the movie.
Yes, definitely. That the way she took her loss and created that new meaning for herself
Hmm.
was definitely very profound
Hmm.
and nice. That being said,
Yeah.
to start a whole new branch of a religion
Hmm.
based on that feeling of loss is so impressive. I think I want to be Anne when I grow up because I'm like, dang. She's like, I have power and energy that I could have put in to raising children. Instead, I shall
Yeah.
raise a new nation. It's admirable. And the thing with the ship,
Hmm.
I'm like, how accurate was that? I mean, they probably did have some ship trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But like the ship to have, because that's probably such a small aspect of like Anne Lee's story, the
Mm,
boat ride from England to America. It's probably such a blip in like her narrative story. But to focus on that aspect for we were there for I feel like half an hour.
yeah.
But I think I love that choice. The song there, what song was it that they sang during that one? Oh, I don't even remember.
I
But the
don't
one with
remember.
Summer. Um, I thought that was my favorite song of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm not doing a great service because I can't remember what song it was, but I think that was so well done to show them in like 3 or 4 different seasons as they're like
Mhm.
traveling the ocean and
Yeah.
going singing the same prayer over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Did a really good job. They did a really good job of showing devotion and worship, I thought, as well,
Yeah.
as we saw through those songs in the on the ship as well,
Mhm.
in which it wasn't fanatical, but it
Mhm.
was like deeply sacred and deeply important to them, obviously.
Mhm.
And the repetition that we heard wasn't repetition in a fanatical way, but rather repetition in I think a deeply centered way.
Yeah.
So I loved the the music of this as well because it showed the worship in a really kind and attractive way.
Yeah. Definitely agree. It was good music, good choreography, just a good movie. I'd watch
Yeah.
it again.
Yeah, I found myself a little bored with it. It felt a little slow to me. However, it was a good movie and I'm a fan of it.
Do we have any other thoughts?
I'm sure you do.
I really don't. I just
Yeah,
liked it. I was just happy to be there, honestly. I was like, this was a good recommendation.
I think as a proof of concept of like a spiritual biography,
Mm,
I really appreciated that. Like I would love to watch more movies similar to this of like female mystics and like try to like and this is one of my favorite parts of these where we speculate other things that we can make in similar veins of this. But I think Julian of Norwich or
who was the
or even
foreskin ring lady?
Foreskin Ring Lady, is that something of Julian of Norwich that I've not remembered?
No, no, not
Marjorie
Julian.
Kemp? I get
Yeah.
okay. That's not one of the things that I remember. But I think like them as spiritual mystics from like medieval era, I
Mm,
think that would be a fascinating movie to redo in a similar light of that, or more modernly, you could get like Amy McPherson in the
mm,
like the Azusa Street revival, or like Helena Blavatsky in the rise of Theosophy.
nice.
I think there's options for feminist led spiritual autobiographies, or not autobiographies, but biopics. That's the word.
Biopics, yeah. Biopics, man, they're all the rage. Michael Jackson's just came out. Everyone loves a good biopic. So you let us know who you'd want a biopic of next. And we will do nothing with that because we don't have the capital, but we'll think about
Mm,
it.
yeah, talk to one of those rich people at the Met Gala. They have the money for it.
The
Ugh.
collection, it's good. It was
Okay,
good.
find a way to showcase the collection without pandering to
You
billionaires.
like NASCAR. That's just money on wheels.
I haven't watched a NASCAR race in like a year.
Don't start. Don't start by being like, it's been a year.
Oh, um, but yeah, I would give this movie 4 out of 5 stars. That was my letterbox rating.
I have
What
not
was?
rated it on Letterboxd yet. It will be getting 5 stars.
Hmm.
It will be going on the rotation of Amanda Seyfried music. Not a musical. She was in Mean Girls. This woman, her range from being in Mean Girls to this, she is a phenomenal actress. And I just love her so much. Okay. Love you, Amanda. Also, thought you looked great at the Met Gala. Love the pink dress. You looked so happy to be there. Um, no, it was a good movie, and I think we'll probably revisit this later once we learn more about Shakers. I feel like we would have had more to say if we knew more about Shakers, if I knew more about Shakers.
What do you have? What questions do you have about Shakers? How can I help you?
I don't have any questions about Shakers. I don't know. I want to research and read. I'm sure. Well,
Yeah.
one second. My
Well,
notes.
they ended. One of my favorite things about this movie was the credit scene where they're like, thanks to these 4 resources that we used to learn about Shakers, you can look at them too. And I love a book recommendation at the end of a movie. I said, thank you very much, credit sequence. Thank you for showing me book recommendations. So there are books out there that the movie used to be like, hey, go read these as well.
We do enjoy that. Okay. There was that one dude at the beginning who said, I believe in rule and method. We will be called Methodists.
Yeah, George
Was that
Whitfield.
like a thing?
It's the Methodist. That's the guy who started the Methodist Church.
But like saying the rule and method thing.
Yeah, Methodists.
That's crazy. Um, I thought she asked a very good question when her husband pulled out that book, which we didn't even talk about the sexual spanking.
Mm,
We didn't even touch on that.
I don't really have much to say.
Why don't we have much to say? That's what started this whole thing. Because she's like, why is Therese in a cupboard? And I'm like, yes. And why is Therese in a cupboard? But then we get into her like and her husband and the sexual spanking, and she internalizes that because she then has 4 miscarriages. Well, they weren't even miscarriages. Like she had 3 children not make it
Mhm.
to one, and then one was stillborn. And she internalized this act between her and her husband as being the reason for those. I don't want to say failures again because it is not a failure on her. It is a natural mishap.
Mhm.
But she internalized that and that sin, and it made it like the body of that sin, and it just
Yeah,
was so complex.
I think there's a lot of stigma, even modernly,
Mm,
among miscarriages and infant deaths,
yeah,
as if that it is the mother's fault and
it's
it
not.
is God's punishment in some way.
It's really not.
So I think definitely at the time that she was around, that for sure was on the forefront of her mind, and even modernly so, is it's a horrible stigma that gets pushed and it shouldn't. So yeah, um, another interesting representation of the
Yeah.
movie.
I guess I did have more thoughts. Okay, now I'm
Yeah, I
done.
told you. I told you.
Now I'm done. I just need a
All
second.
right. Well, thank you all for watching.
This has been the Religious Treehouse. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Amazon Music.
Mhm.
Is it Amazon? Apple Podcast, Spotify.
Mhm.
Email us.
Mhm.
I'm now blanking. I had them all. Bluesky. We're not on that other thing because we don't support that
Yeah, but we
for
are
same
on
reasons
Amazon.
why Matthew doesn't like the Met Gala. So I'm a hypocrite. But this has been us, and we hope you join us next week for what I'm sure will be a riveting episode. And we have plenty of other movie episodes. If you're like, this was okay, check out one of
Yeah.
those.
Our other episodes don't have us ranting about the Met Gala for 15 minutes.
Well, they should,
Yeah.
because it apparently is a hot topic for us.
Yeah.
All right, we will see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
I just think it's important in this time when actresses are encouraging, when we are seeing actresses wither away in front of our eyes from not eating and this whole resurgence of skinny is hot thing,
Mhm.
you know, the gallery, like the collection they were exhibiting was celebrating all bodies. So
Okay,
that's
but
why I liked this year's Met Gala because that's what we were emphasizing. The red carpet's not the main attraction.
But it is the main attraction because
For
that's the only thing
some
that people know
people,
about. It's the only thing that the media cares about. The only thing that's being pushed by the media.
but it wasn't the media talking to you, it was me. It was
Jodie,
me.
we have a podcast. We are the media.
Damn it.